Alright guys, so I'm going to make a quick video today on range trading, because to me this is probably the easiest environment to trade, and it's very similar to the kind of price action that you had, probably just in all of this, right? This is all kind of a giant range. So let's talk about it, because for me, this is one of the easier things to trade, and it probably is just a giant range. So if we look at this very clearly, we have a range low, right? So we'll go to like a 2-hour chart and kind of find this range low. This whole area here is our clear range low, right? And we can draw it, to probably be a little bit bigger, right? And if we look at the way this level acts, right, we don't get a strong close below, right? We have a deviation and close above. And then pretty consistently, this whole area is just a big spot of demand, right? Same thing here, right? Every time these levels are tapped, we can't get a clean close underneath this level, right? And we just go higher, right? And it's the same thing here, right? There's no difference at all. And that to me is why this is probably just a simple range play. Is that we go to our 4-hour chart, it's kind of the same thing again, where we don't ever have a significant candle close below this giant block here, right? Again, we do have wicks to the downside, right? But these are not candle closes, right? And the reason I think where you put your stop is right over there, right? Because if this ever gets touched, you know that you are probably going much lower. The idea is probably to scare people around here and make them think that they can buy, under here, right? That would be where people are waiting to buy, all of us, right? You all want 80Ks, so your buys are, all around here, and that's why you don't touch it if it touches through there. Now, when we look at this as a giant range, we have pretty clean levels, right? We've got a clear and obvious range high, right? And we're just going to draw this out kind of over here. I'll use the square again. And we can see it is a range high. Why? Because we can see this level is tried as support multiple times, right? And if we kind of zoom in a bit, we're going to see the same thing where we tap these 103s as support, right? We reject off this 102.5. We're trying to flip kind of this whole little level to support. And then again, here it's just still not quite clearly. And then finally, right, we've got a couple other key levels that we can take a look at, right? So I mean, this swing low over here. Pretty significant, right? Because once we rejected off of this, that just gave us the fuel for our whole move down. But I think your mid-range is probably over here, actually, right? These guys down here, these 942s, but really mostly I'm going to say all of this stuff up here. And if we go to a 4-hour chart, this is why. Again, no candle closes below, and the bulk of our trading is happening here in this range mid, right? So now that we've cleanly drawn this out to just be a range, right? Where again, this is the level that we place our stops, we logically probably know that we can put our stop loss anywhere here and enter all along up here, right? It doesn't really matter because again, your target is going to be here, and then your target is going to be here, and then if you get above that, right, I mean, then you could probably shoot for, higher highs. But again, the stop loss doesn't change because you're just taking a range setup. And again, how would this play out, assuming that it's bullish, right? You would have an attempt to trade back to the range mid, flip this as support, and then you'd make a push up higher, right? But because you just don't know, right, the easier trade and the one that we're looking at, again, would just be longing this to the range mid, right? You long this to the range mid, very simple trade. And then again, if it rejects, right, which is entirely possible, then fine. That's fine. We can take our profits and whatever. That's not a big deal to us. We want to see the reaction at this level, right? And again, we can see the way the price changes. And again, the big thing is this is not hard to do, right? I mean, anybody can kind of make these range mids and these range lows. Hell, we can even, call this our range highs. This is probably a better range high, honestly. A lot more interesting price action around here. But again, if you can identify these basic levels, treat the whole thing like a game of ping pong to some degree, right? If it, reclaims this, it's probably going to go higher. If it loses the mid-range, it's probably going to go to the range low. That's probably the really easy way to go about plotting these things, right? Again, range low tap, range mid tap, range high tap, right? Same thing again here. Where does this go? Right off the range low. And how does it get there? Right when it loses the range mid. Where do we go? Straight back to the range mid, right? And then we reject. And we're kind of just doing the same thing, right? Here we try to flip this level back to support. And again, really, at the end of the day, it is ping pong, right? Again, something like this, right? Clean reject off the range mid before eventually grinding higher. And this is how I treat this too, right? We didn't break down from our range low, so I wouldn't be overly bearish. I would just assume that we're in a range and that this low is safe until proven otherwise. I hope this guys is helpful because again, this is a really good concept to apply to any asset. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one.